Welcome to Revenge with Destiny. Before this story begins, imagine yourself dismissed, underestimated, mocked by those you thought should know your worth. Imagine the laughter, the whispers, the judgment, all aimed at you while someone else basks in applause. This story is for anyone who has ever been overlooked, invisible, or humiliated. Pay attention, because by the end, you will witness how patience, strategy, and silence can build a power so great that no arrogance, no mocking, no visibility can challenge it. Jock and Sam grew up in the same house, yet their worlds were never the same. Jock's life was loud, explosive, and attention-grabbing. Every word he spoke, every move he made was designed to be seen. Status, recognition, appearances, he thrived on them. Sam's world, in contrast, was quiet, careful, and deliberate. Where Jock performed for applause, Sam observed, measured, and waited. From childhood, Jock demanded to be noticed. Praise, validation, recognition. They were lifeblood to him. Family gatherings, holidays, school events, he turned them into stages for his performance. Sam, in the same room, could have been invisible and no one would notice. And for years, the world believed that he was. But Sam was not invisible in capability. He was invisible in appearance, in action, in expectation. He rented modest apartments, wore plain clothes, and spoke softly. To outsiders, he seemed unambitious. To family, he seemed ordinary. To Jock, he seemed pathetic, and that was exactly how Sam wanted it. The first public humiliation occurred at a family dinner. Jock, leaning back in his chair, glass raised, spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "Still renting? That's pathetic." Laughter followed. Relatives exchanged glances. Everyone assumed they knew the truth. Sam felt a tightness in his chest, not from the insult itself, but from the collective agreement of silence. No one stopped Jock. No one defended him. And for a moment, it seemed like the world sided with arrogance. They did not know. Years earlier, Sam had quietly purchased a failing duplex. He did not announce it. He did not post it online. No one traced it back to him. He renovated it meticulously, learning every wall, every pipe, every flaw. Every dollar earned was reinvested. Then he did it again and again and again. Each time, the properties grew in value, his portfolio grew, and yet no one noticed. Not Jock, not his family, not the world. While Jock's confidence was loud, Sam's was invisible. While Jock craved attention, Sam craved mastery. Every mistake Jock made, every miscalculation, every mocking word, every laugh, it became fuel for Sam's growing empire. As years passed, interest rates fluctuated, banks tightened, construction costs spiked. Jock continued to perform for validation, unaware that his every misstep fed Sam's calculated rise. Contractors vanished, costs soared, deadlines slipped, yet at every family gathering, Jock continued to mock. Still renting? Pathetic. Sam observed, calculated, acquired, expanded student housing near hospitals, distribution centers in neglected zones, mid-rise apartments, distressed properties everyone else avoided. Each acquisition strengthened the empire. Each error Jock made became part of Sam's invisible scaffolding. Family gatherings became psychological battlefields. Jock laughed, boasted, and mocked. But subtle tension began to appear, whispered conversations, hesitations, quick glances. The air shifted. Something was happening, but Jock could not see it. Take a moment. Where are you watching from? City, town, or country? Drop it in the comments. This story is not just about Sam and Jock. It is about anyone who has been dismissed, overlooked, underestimated. The quietest, most patient, most disciplined often hold the greatest power. Loudness fades, visibility is fragile, silence endures. Pause 3 seconds. Jock's panic began subtly, then grew. A property he had purchased with borrowed money decreased in value. Contractors disappeared. Costs skyrocketed. Deadlines collapsed. For the first time, he felt fear, and yet he turned to Sam for guidance, but pride made him refuse advice. Each day, his world became less stable. Sam's empire continued to grow. Each property carefully acquired, each investment meticulously calculated. Apartments near universities, student housing close to hospitals, distribution centers in overlooked areas. Every error by Jock, every failed venture, every mocking word became an unintentional donation to Sam's empire. Jock could feel the shift, but could not articulate it. Approval no longer came automatically. Laughter no longer landed. He had underestimated the quiet one, and the consequences were already in motion. The first subtle reveal was a masterstroke. Sam invited the family to what he called a minor property. Jock laughed openly, confident in his dominance. Finally buying, he mocked. But the property was not minor. Glass towers reflected the sun, mid-rise buildings with precision construction. Security personnel moved with quiet authority. Executives greeted Sam with respect. The room fell silent. Jock's confidence faltered. Documents were revealed, audits, property maps, financial statements. The total, $750 million. Jock froze. Every mocking glance, every dismissive word he had used returned to him as weight pressing on his chest. Every mismanaged property, every poor calculation, every arrogant vision unwittingly contributed to Sam's empire. Sam did not gloat. He let the empire speak. Silence, preparation, patience, and strategy executed themselves perfectly. Jock's unraveling continued. Family gatherings became theaters of tension. Each glance, each word, each subtle observation reminded him that he no longer controlled the room. Confidence faltered. Arrogance cracked. Pride became meaningless. Sam's empire grew silently. Every past mistake by Jock, every careless investment, every boast, every insult, all strengthened Sam. He never sought recognition. He never needed applause. Patience and discipline had ensured his triumph. The climax came with the largest property. What seemed a modest building from the street revealed itself as a vast complex. Glass towers, mid-rise apartments, commercial properties, precise security, executives managing operations. Jock's mocking smile could not survive the reality. Documents, audits, and detailed financial statements were presented. $750 million. Jock could not speak. Arrogance, once unshakable, was meaningless. For the first time, he could not perform, could not control the narrative. Sam did not act. The empire spoke for itself. Every past mistake Jock had made, every insult, every mocking word became a building block of Sam's success. Karma, patient, preciseless, ruthless had arrived. Family whispers filled the room. Apologies were awkward. Recognition irrelevant. Sam's patience and strategy executed a flawless plan. Reflect on your own life. Times you were dismissed, underestimated, mocked. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. Appearances deceive, loudness fades, silence endures, patience compounds, discipline multiplies, the quiet, patient, prepared hold the greatest power. $750 million built silently, patiently, ruthlessly, untouchable, unstoppable, inevitable. Never mistake humility for weakness. Never underestimate the silent, disciplined, and patient. The quietest person in the room often holds all the power. Sam and Jock's story ends here. Loudness may win temporary applause, visibility may dominate for a moment, but preparation, patience, and ruthless strategy ensure ultimate victory. The empire endures. The lesson remains. Silence conquers all. Before the story continues, imagine yourself at the edge of a moment you didn't see coming. Someone close to you, someone you've overlooked, someone you've mocked, begins to rise silently, calculating, unstoppable. This is what happens to Jock. This is the power of patience, discipline, and silent strategy. From childhood, Sam and Jock's differences were stark. Jock loved attention. He thrived on dominance in the playground, the classroom, and at home. Every grade, every medal, every small victory was announced, flaunted, and celebrated. Sam, in contrast, excelled quietly. He read books no one else cared to open, observed lessons no one noticed, and solved problems silently. Where Jock made noise, Sam made progress. Where Jock demanded applause, Sam prepared. It began in elementary school. Jock would boast about grades, possessions, and friends. He mocked Sam's simplicity, his modest clothes, his quiet demeanor. One winter, during a family holiday party, Jock grabbed the last slice of cake in front of everyone and taunted Sam for not daring to take it. Laughter erupted and Sam bowed his head, but inside he noted the embarrassment, storing it, cataloging it. Every slight, every humiliation, every mocking word became a piece in an invisible puzzle. Teenage years deepened the divide. Jock flaunted girlfriends, sporty achievements, and popularity. Sam focused on strategy. He learned the rules of business from books, studied investments, and understood finance long before anyone in his family did. While Jock chased temporary admiration, Sam was preparing for permanence. The quiet discipline became his weapon. By the time they reached their 20s, the roles seemed obvious. Jock owned a home, drove flashy cars, and attended elite parties. Sam rented, lived simply, and refused attention. Family members, friends, and even acquaintances assumed that Sam had fallen behind. Still renting? That's pathetic, they said, echoing Jock's earlier words. But Sam's strategy was already in motion. His first property, purchased under a hidden LLC, became a stepping stone. He renovated it, reinvested profits, acquired the next and the next. While Jock spent money on appearances, Sam converted every resource into growth. Each investment was calculated, each property selected strategically for future leverage. While the world mocked the renter, Sam quietly amassed power. Jock's mistakes were feeding Sam's empire. One summer, Jock purchased a row of rental homes without properly checking the market. The construction was shoddy, the neighborhood unstable, and the tenants unreliable. Jock shrugged, confident that his charm would cover any risk. He did not realize that Sam quietly observed every error. Every financial misstep Jock made became an opportunity. When Jock defaulted on one property, Sam quietly bought neighboring buildings, converting Jock's losses into his own advantage. Family holidays became a recurring stage for humiliation. Jock would boast of his wealth, mock Sam's frugality, and display his dominance. One Thanksgiving, Jock loudly compared Sam's apartment to his mansion, calling it pathetic. Relatives laughed. Sam excused himself quietly, stepping out while his phone vibrated with updates from properties Jock had never noticed. In that moment, he did not feel shame. He felt preparation. Every humiliation was a reminder that patience beats pride. The tension between them escalated as the years passed. Jock invested recklessly in commercial properties, often inflating costs and over-leveraging loans. Banks began tightening regulations, contractors vanished mid-project, and deadlines slipped. Jock's confidence was beginning to crack, though he remained unaware. Meanwhile, Sam's acquisitions multiplied. Student housing, mid-rise apartments, distribution centers, distressed assets, carefully selected and optimized. His wealth compounded silently, invisibly. Sam's strategy was not only financial, it was psychological. He understood that ego attracts predators. He kept his empire secret, intentionally invisible. While Jock sought attention, Sam avoided it. While Jock flaunted wealth, Sam cultivated invisibility. Every public humiliation, every mocking word, every failure by Jock strengthened Sam's patience and resolve. He never needed applause. He only needed timing. The first glimpse of Sam's dominance came at a supposed minor property unveiling. Jock arrived, laughing, confident, mocking his brother's modesty. "Finally buying," he said, expecting applause for himself. The property revealed itself differently. Glass towers reflecting sunlight, mid-rise buildings with precise construction, security personnel moving silently, executives greeting Sam with respect. The room went silent. Jock's smile faltered, confidence wavered, pride trembled. Documents were presented, audits, property maps, holdings, financial statements, $750 million. Jock's arrogance, once unshakable, failed. Every mocking word he had uttered returned to him like a shadow. Every error he had made unknowingly fueled the empire of the brother he called pathetic. Family gatherings turned into psychological battlefields. Jock's usual dominance dissolved under the weight of reality. Every glance, every whisper reminded him that control had shifted. Confidence faltered, arrogance cracked, pride became irrelevant. Sam, quiet and patient, moved like a shadow, calculated, deliberate, unstoppable. Sam's empire expanded quietly, apartments near universities, student housing by hospitals, distribution centers in overlooked areas. Every misstep Jock made became a tool for Sam. Every failed investment, every arrogant move, every mocking remark built his empire. Silence had become his weapon, patience his armor, observation his strategy. Pause for a moment. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. This story is not just about Sam and Jock. It is about anyone who has been dismissed, underestimated, overlooked. The quiet, patient, and disciplined often hold the greatest power. Remember, loudness fades, visibility is fragile, silence endures. Jock's unraveling accelerated. Properties he had purchased with borrowed money decreased in value. Costs escalated. Contractors vanished. Deadlines collapsed. Panic settled into his mind like a heavy fog. Yet pride prevented him from asking for help. Every day he became more aware that Sam, the quiet one, had surpassed him without effort, without announcement, without validation. Sam's empire continued to grow. Every acquisition was calculated, every investment optimized, apartments near universities, student housing near hospitals, distribution centers in strategic areas, all under invisible entities no one could trace. Every mistake Jock made, every failure, every arrogance-driven misstep fed the empire. Every mocking word had become fuel for success. The first grand unveiling of his empire was a masterstroke. A family gathering was called. Jock arrived confident, mocking, ready to bask in his assumed superiority. But what he witnessed was extraordinary. Glass towers, mid-rise buildings, commercial complexes, security personnel, executives, all managed under Sam's precise control. Jock's mocking grin vanished. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Documents were revealed. Detailed audits, maps, property statements, $750 million. Jock froze. Every misstep he had ever made, every mocking word, every laugh, had built the empire he had called pathetic. Karma had arrived with precision. Sam did not speak. He let his empire demonstrate the outcome of patience, strategy, and silence. Jock's arrogance had no defense. The world had always been loud for Jock. Every room he entered, every conversation he joined, every glance he received fed his confidence. But silence, patience, and invisibility had a different rhythm, one Jock could never see coming. Sam had waited, observed, calculated. The empire he had built was not just financial, it was psychological, meticulous, and unstoppable. Jock's first sign of real panic came during a high-profile business luncheon. He had bought a series of downtown apartments using aggressive loans, assuming the market would always favor him. Contractors delayed work, costs ballooned, tenants refused to move in, banks began scrutinizing every deal, and yet Jock still wore confidence like armor. Sam watched from the shadows, unnoticed by anyone except those who had begun to suspect. He acquired neighboring properties, quietly, strategically. When Jock's miscalculations caused losses, Sam's portfolio silently absorbed the gains. Each failure of Jock's reinforced the invisible scaffolding of Sam's empire. Every mocking word he had once uttered became part of Sam's arsenal. Family gatherings had become tense theaters. Every toast, every joke, every shared story reminded Jock of the difference between visibility and substance. Sam never responded to mocking remarks. He never flaunted wealth. He never asked for recognition. And yet, with every passing year, the silent empire grew. During one particular Thanksgiving, Jock made a mistake that would mark the turning point. He mocked Sam's apartment again, calling it pathetic in front of relatives. Laughter filled the room. Sam smiled faintly and excused himself quietly. No words, no reaction, just silence. Outside, his phone buzzed with alerts. Another property acquisition, another investment, another victory, invisible to the world. This was the pattern. Every humiliation, every insult, every dismissive remark, absorbed, calculated, reinvested. By the time Jock realized, it was far too late. Sam's empire now spanned student housing near top hospitals, mid-rise apartment buildings in developing neighborhoods, distribution centers in strategic locations, and distressed assets previously overlooked by the market. Every acquisition had been deliberate, every investment meticulously calculated, every portfolio invisible to outsiders. And every misstep of Jock's had fed the empire. When Sam finally decided it was time, he executed the first public revelation, a minor property unveiling to family and select investors. Jock arrived, laughing, mocking, ready to assert dominance. Finally buying, he said smugly, assuming he controlled the narrative. But the property was anything but minor. Glass towers reflected the morning sun. Mid-rise apartments rose with precise construction. Security personnel moved with subtle authority. Executives greeted Sam with respect, shaking his hand with recognition. The room went silent. Jock's grin faded. Pride faltered. Confidence trembled. Documents were revealed. Audits, property maps, detailed financial statements. $750 million. Jock's reaction was instantaneous yet silent. Every insult he had ever uttered came back like a hammer. Every careless investment, every arrogant boast, every failure he had ignored, the collateral damage of his own ego, had been transformed into Sam's triumph. The psychological impact was profound. Family members whispered. Apologies were offered awkwardly, delayed, and unnecessary. Recognition was irrelevant. Sam's empire did not require applause. His strategy did not need validation. Karma, precise, patient, and ruthless, had delivered its verdict. Jock's unraveling intensified over the following months. He attempted to buy properties recklessly to regain status, only to encounter market crashes and sudden regulation changes. Contractors abandoned projects, leases fell through, deadlines slipped. Every desperate effort Jock made to assert dominance fed Sam's empire further. Each misstep, each rash investment became an unintentional donation to the silent, patient brother he had once mocked. Sam, meanwhile, executed boardroom maneuvers with precision. Negotiations were quiet, strategic, invisible. Deals that Jock had ignored or failed to secure were acquired seamlessly. Every miscalculation of Jock's became a direct gain. By now, Sam's portfolio was diversified and formidable, untouchable by reckless decisions or sudden market swings. Family events became increasingly tense. Jock could no longer dominate conversations, nor could he command respect. His arrogance, once a shield, had failed. The room's energy shifted. Every glance reminded him that control had moved elsewhere. Confidence crumbled. Pride had no armor. Sam, never gloating, never boasting, simply allowed the empire to speak. Every property, every investment, every detail of his financial kingdom became a testament to preparation, patience, and discipline. During the final grand family unveiling, Sam revealed the largest acquisition yet. What appeared to be a modest building from the street revealed itself as a vast complex. Glass towers, mid-rise apartment blocks, commercial properties, and executives coordinating operations with seamless precision. Jock's mocking smile could not survive the reality. Every document was laid bare. Detailed audits, financial statements, property maps, and holdings. $750 million. Jock was speechless. Arrogance, confidence, pride, all meaningless in the face of calculated preparation and ruthless patience. Every mocking word he had ever used, every insult, every failure he had ignored, had become a foundation for Sam's empire. The quietest, least visible person in the room had become the most powerful. The family finally understood. Awkward apologies, delayed recognition, whispered astonishment. But for Sam, none of that mattered. His victory was silent, complete, and irreversible. Now reflect on your own life. Times you were dismissed, overlooked, underestimated. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. Loudness may win temporary applause. Visibility may dominate for a moment. But patience, discipline, silence, and preparation ensure ultimate victory. $750 million built silently, patiently, ruthlessly. Untouchable, unstoppable. Never mistake humility for weakness. Never underestimate the silent, disciplined, prepared. The quietest person in the room often holds all the power. The story of Sam and Jock was never only about money. It was about power, pride, and perception, and how one quiet, underestimated person could turn years of arrogance, hatred, and backbiting into their greatest advantage. From the earliest memories, the family had been divided, not by wealth but by pride. Each branch of the family believed themselves superior. Cousins whispered about inheritances, aunts compared achievements, and parents quietly favored the loudest child. Small arguments turned into grudges. Compliments were rationed. Praise was conditional. And Jock had learned to thrive in this environment, loud, brash, and visible, commanding attention to mask the fragility beneath. Sam, on the other hand, was invisible. Not because he lacked power, but because he knew the danger of pride. He saw how jealousy and backbiting poisoned relationships. He observed the subtle ways family members turned on one another, how petty insults turned into alliances of resentment. Every holiday, every birthday, every gathering was a lesson in human behavior, a chessboard where he could place himself without drawing attention. Jock's arrogance fed family divisions. He mocked Sam openly at gatherings, called him pathetic in front of relatives, and flaunted wealth and status to command approval. Cousins, uncles, and aunts unconsciously reinforced his dominance. Sam remained calm, watching, learning, cataloging every slight, every whisper, every subtle betrayal. Over the years, tensions grew. Families began to side unconsciously with either Sam or Jock. Some admired Jock's visibility and boldness. Others secretly envied his successes while noticing the emptiness beneath his loud achievements. Still, no one suspected that Sam was quietly building power far beyond their comprehension. The family feud deepened when Jock made a series of reckless investments. His failures, properties bought impulsively, loans over-leveraged, contractors disappearing, caused subtle crises. Relatives whispered. Some blamed Sam for not intervening. Others whispered that Jock's arrogance would be his downfall. Every piece of gossip, every fragment of pride-driven argument, every betrayal or backbiting conversation became part of Sam's invisible strategy. He was never seen, never discussed openly, but his empire quietly grew, absorbing every opportunity Jock discarded, every asset the family overlooked. During one major holiday, the divisions became undeniable. Family members argued openly about inheritances, past slights, and perceived favoritism. Jock stood at the center, attempting to command loyalty through charm and visibility. Sam sat quietly in a corner, observing the fractures, understanding how every word and action reinforced the cracks in Jock's confidence. It was then that Sam realized something deeper. The family itself had been weaponized by pride, hatred, and resentment. By staying invisible, by being patient, he not only built wealth but gained control over the social dynamics of the household. Every insult, every mocking word, every perceived failure of Jock had been cataloged and transformed into strategic advantage. Take a moment. Picture yourself in Sam's position, not just accumulating wealth, but quietly navigating a web of family hatred, jealousy, and pride. How would you act? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and remember, new stories drop every Wednesday at 4 p.m. UK time. You'll want to come back because this tale is far from over. Sam's empire had grown quietly, almost invisibly, but the family's awareness of the imbalance began to emerge. Cousins whispered about Sam's successes in hushed tones. Some aunts and uncles who once ignored him now asked subtle questions, never realizing that Sam's humility was the very weapon that kept him safe while Jock stumbled. By now, Jock's confidence was eroding. He made mistakes faster, panicked more openly, and lost credibility with those who once supported him. His failures, once dismissed, were now undeniable. The family that had laughed at Sam began to question his patience, his silence, and his power. And in that questioning, Sam's dominance became almost invisible yet unassailable. The final act of this saga was not just about money. It was about legacy, psychological dominance, and karmic justice. Jock's arrogance had reached a critical point. He attempted to regain control by acquiring flashy properties and flaunting temporary successes. But the market had shifted. Banks were cautious, contractors were unreliable, tenants were scarce. Each reckless investment became another brick in Sam's empire. Meanwhile, Sam executed the last phase of his plan. Every property Jock had mismanaged, every failed deal, every careless mistake was quietly absorbed. New acquisitions, strategic partnerships, and calculated expansions consolidated his power. The family, once blind to Sam, could no longer ignore the scale of his success. The final family gathering was tense beyond measure. Jock, still believing in his visibility and charm, strutted into the room, ready to mock, flaunt, and dominate. Sam arrived quietly. No fanfare, no arrogance, just presence. And the evidence of his empire, property documents, financial statements, audits, and holdings, all revealed with calm precision. $750 million. The silence that followed was deafening. Jock's smug grin faltered, then disappeared entirely. Every insult he had ever uttered, every mocking word, every failure he had ignored, all had contributed to the rise of the very person he considered pathetic. The family, previously divided by pride and resentment, now looked on in stunned disbelief. The psychological impact on Jock was total. Every glance, every conversation, every family interaction reminded him of his failure to see beyond appearances. Sam's patience, his invisibility, and his ruthless strategic discipline had executed payback flawlessly, not through anger or revenge, but through timing, observation, and preparation. The divisions in the family, once fueled by pride and backbiting, became a mirror reflecting Jock's miscalculations. Cousins whispered. Aunts and uncles apologized awkwardly. The once dominant loudness was powerless against quiet inevitability. Now imagine yourself in their shoes. If you were underestimated, mocked, or dismissed, what would you do? Would you react in anger or plan silently, patiently, and strategically like Sam? Drop your answer in the comments below. If you want to witness more stories of revenge, destiny, patience, and unstoppable power, make sure to subscribe now. Hit that notification bell, because new stories drop every Wednesday at 4 p.m. UK time, and trust me, you will not want to miss a single one. Remember, the quiet ones, the patient ones, the disciplined ones, they always have the last word. And just like Sam, sometimes the world doesn't even see it coming. Can you wait for the next story? I doubt it. Neither can I.